Sometimes, love doesn't arrive in the way we dream of. It doesn't start with flowers, or candlelit dinners, or long romantic stares across a crowded room. Sometimes, it begins with chaos, embarrassment, and even anger. That's exactly how it was for Maya. Maya was a marketing executive with a sharp mind and an even sharper reputation. She had built her career brick by brick, sacrificing weekends, late nights, and even relationships to get where she was. For her, success wasn't just a goal, it was proof. Proof that the sacrifices, the heartbreaks, and the betrayals she had endured weren't in vain. And on this particular morning, she was determined to make a lasting impression. She had been invited to a high-profile networking event, the kind where one handshake could mean the difference between staying stagnant in your career or moving into the fast lane. But as fate would have it, that morning was a disaster from the start. Her printer broke down. Traffic was unbearable. She nearly missed her ride. By the time she arrived at the event, she was juggling a stack of files, her purse, and a large cup of coffee, her lifeline after a sleepless night of preparation. She hurried through the lobby, scanning the crowd for familiar faces, when, in the blink of an eye, she collided with someone. The impact was so strong that her files went flying to the floor, and her hot coffee spilled right across the crisp white shirt of the man standing in front of her. Gasps filled the air around them as people turned to see the commotion. The man froze, looking down at his shirt in shock. Maya's heart dropped. This wasn't just anyone, this was someone important. She didn't know who he was yet, but the confident posture, the well-cut suit, and the commanding presence said it all. He wasn't just another guest. He mattered. Maya scrambled to pick up her papers, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. But instead of helping, the man muttered under his breath, his irritation clear, "Unbelievable! I can't even walk through a hallway without being drenched in coffee?" Maya's head snapped up. Her embarrassment quickly turned into anger. "Excuse me? You walked right into me," she snapped back. He scoffed. "I walked into you? You were the one barreling through here like it was a racetrack." The tension between them was thick. Both of them were frustrated, both of them embarrassed, and neither was willing to back down. Maya, still flustered, gathered her things and walked away with her head held high, but inside she was boiling. She thought to herself, what an arrogant man. Who reacts like that at a professional event? And yet, as she left, Daniel, that was his name, Daniel, couldn't stop watching her walk away. He was still annoyed, but there was something about her fiery spirit, the way she stood her ground, that left him intrigued. Little did Maya know that embarrassing coffee spill wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning, because in just a few days, she was about to see that same man again. Not as a stranger, but as her new partner on the most important project of her career. And when she does, everything in her life will begin to change. Sometimes, the people we're meant to meet come into our lives in the most unexpected and inconvenient ways. Maya thought she'd never see Daniel again. But what happens when your worst first impression becomes the person you're forced to work with every single day? Maya thought she had left the coffee spill disaster behind her. After all, the man's arrogance was the last thing she needed to think about. She had more important things to focus on. Her company had just landed a new collaboration deal with another major firm. It was a huge opportunity, one that could elevate her career to the next level. Maya had worked too hard and waited too long to let anything distract her. But as life often reminds us, we don't always get to choose who walks back into our lives. The first day of the partnership meeting started with an air of excitement. Executives from both companies filled the sleek conference room. Everyone was exchanging polite handshakes, smiles, and introductions. Maya was prepared, her notes were organized, her confidence steady. She was ready to impress. That is, until the door opened, and in walked Daniel, the very same man she had spilled coffee on. The same man who had mocked her in front of everyone that day. The same man she had sworn she would never cross paths with again. Maya froze in her seat. Her heart raced, not with excitement, but with dread. She could hardly believe it. Of all the people her company could have partnered with, why him? Daniel, however, seemed almost amused when he spotted her. His lips curled into a subtle smirk, not mocking but curious, as though fate itself had played a trick and he was enjoying the irony. The introductions began. When the project lead announced, Daniel Lawson, Strategic Partnerships Manager, Maya's stomach sank. And then the words that nearly made her choke. "You'll be working closely with Maya Carter on this collaboration. The two of you will be leading the initiative together." Maya forced a smile, but inside she was screaming. This cannot be happening. Anyone but him. As the meeting went on, she kept her eyes fixed on her notes, determined not to give him the satisfaction of catching her off guard. Daniel, on the other hand, seemed oddly comfortable. His confidence filled the room, and while he kept things professional, he never missed a chance to glance her way. After the meeting ended, he finally approached her. His voice was calm, but laced with playfulness. "So, Maya Carter, looks like we're stuck with each other." Maya didn't flinch. She looked him straight in the eye and said, "Don't mistake this for fate, Daniel. This is work. Nothing more." He chuckled softly. "We'll see." And just like that, the battle lines were drawn. Maya wanted nothing to do with Daniel outside of work. But Daniel? He saw something different. Beneath Maya's guarded tone and fiery eyes, he sensed a spark, the kind that couldn't be ignored. Still, for Maya, this reunion was nothing short of a nightmare. Every time she thought of their first meeting, her embarrassment returned. And now she'd have to see him almost every day, in every meeting, on every call. She braced herself for the worst. But what Maya didn't realize was that sometimes, the people we least expect to cross paths with again, are the ones who end up teaching us the most about ourselves. Because while Maya was determined to keep her walls up, Daniel was about to challenge her in ways she never saw coming. Ways that would frustrate her, yes, but also begin to stir something deeper inside her heart. Maya thought she could simply avoid Daniel and bury herself in work. But what happens when constant clashes in the office ignite something neither of them can deny? The tension is about to rise, and with it, so will the sparks. From the very first week, it was clear, working with Daniel was not going to be easy. The project was ambitious. Both companies had invested heavily in it, and the pressure was on. Every detail mattered, from branding to strategy, from presentations to deadlines. And that meant Maya and Daniel had to work closely, side by side, almost every single day. But when you put two strong-willed people together, sparks don't always fly in the romantic way. Sometimes they explode like firecrackers. Brainstorming sessions quickly turned into battlegrounds. Maya, with her meticulous eye for detail and firm leadership style, believed every decision needed careful thought, research, and structure. She liked control, because control meant safety. It was the only way she knew how to protect herself, not just in her career but in life. Daniel, on the other hand, thrived on instinct. He was bold, spontaneous, and confident to a fault. He believed risks led to rewards. And when Maya shot down one of his ideas in a meeting, he pushed back hard. "That won't work, Daniel," Maya said, sliding her pen across her notebook. "It's reckless. We need a plan that's stable, one we can actually defend in front of the board." Daniel leaned forward, eyes locked on hers. "Stable doesn't inspire people, Maya. Playing it safe is just another way of settling. If we don't take risks, we'll never stand out." The room grew tense as their colleagues exchanged nervous glances. Neither one of them backed down. Every discussion turned into a tug of war, Maya pulling one way, Daniel pulling the other. And yet, beneath the frustration, there was something else brewing. Because every time Daniel challenged her, Maya felt her pulse quicken. She hated to admit it, but there was an energy in the way he spoke, a passion that mirrored her own. And Daniel, though he'd never say it out loud, found himself secretly captivated by Maya's fire. Her determination, her intelligence, the way her eyes lit up when she fought for what she believed in. It was maddening. They drove each other crazy. But deep down, they were beginning to respect each other more than they wanted to admit. Still, Maya fought hard to keep her guard up. To her, Daniel wasn't charming, he was arrogant. He was a distraction. And distractions were dangerous. Especially after what she had been through in the past. But no matter how hard she tried, Daniel had a way of getting under her skin. And sometimes, even when she walked out of a meeting frustrated with him, she found herself thinking about his words long after. One evening, after yet another heated debate, Maya vented to a colleague, "I don't know how I'm supposed to survive working with him. He thinks he's always right. And the worst part? Sometimes he actually is." What Maya didn't realize was that Daniel, too, was struggling with something he couldn't quite explain. Because while their clashes left him exasperated, they also left him drawn to her. There was something magnetic about Maya, something he couldn't shake, no matter how hard he tried. It was as if fate itself had tied them together, daring them to see past the tension. But for now, all Maya saw was conflict. And the more they fought, the more convinced she became that this partnership was doomed. What she didn't know yet was that life had another twist in store. One that would force her and Daniel out of the boardroom, out of their comfort zones, and into a situation where neither of them could hide behind their walls. Maya and Daniel's arguments were only the beginning, because soon, a business trip would throw them together in ways neither of them expected. And when that happens, their walls will start to crumble, and something far deeper will take root. Sometimes, life has a way of breaking down the walls we've built around ourselves. And for Maya and Daniel, that moment came during a business trip that neither of them could avoid. Their project had reached a critical stage. Both companies needed to present updates to a potential investor. The meeting was out of town, which meant Maya and Daniel had to travel together. For Maya, it felt like punishment. A few days stuck in close quarters with the one man who managed to both frustrate her and, though she'd never admit it, linger in her thoughts. On the flight, she buried herself in her laptop, pretending not to notice when Daniel leaned back casually, closing his eyes as if he had no worries in the world. He teased her gently, "You ever relax, Maya? Or is work the only language you speak?" Without looking up, she fired back, "Some of us have to work hard to succeed. Not all of us can just charm our way through life." Daniel chuckled. "Is that what you think I do?" She glanced at him then, just for a second, and the look in his eyes caught her off guard. It wasn't arrogance. It was something softer, something real. She quickly looked away, shaking it off. When they landed, they went straight into meetings. Long hours, endless conversations, and plenty of disagreements. But outside of the boardroom, things began to change. One evening, after a grueling day, a junior colleague from their team looked overwhelmed, struggling to finish a presentation slide. Maya was ready to call it a night when Daniel stepped in. "Hey," he said gently, pulling up a chair beside the young man. "Don't worry, you've got this. Let's go over it together." For the next hour, Daniel patiently walked him through every detail, never once showing frustration. Maya watched quietly from across the room, surprised. She had expected Daniel to be self-centered, maybe even dismissive. But what she saw instead was kindness, patience, a leader who lifted others up even when he didn't have to. That night, as they left the office building together, Daniel caught Maya looking at him differently. "What?" he asked with a smile. She shook her head quickly. "Nothing. But I didn't expect that from you." "Didn't expect what?" he pressed. "That you'd stay and help him. Most people at your level wouldn't bother." Daniel's smile faded into something more genuine. "Titles don't mean anything if you can't use them to make someone else's job easier. I know what it's like to be overlooked. I don't want anyone else to feel that way." Maya didn't respond. But in that moment, a small crack formed in the wall around her heart. The next day, they grabbed dinner together after work, not because they planned it, but because both ended up in the same little diner near their hotel. Over burgers and fries, their conversation drifted away from work. They laughed about childhood stories, swapped embarrassing college memories, and even argued over who made the best pizza, New York or Chicago. For the first time, Maya saw the man beneath the sharp suit and confident smile. And Daniel? He discovered the warmth beneath Maya's tough exterior. The way her laugh lit up a room, the vulnerability in her eyes when she let her guard down, even just for a second. Late that night, as they walked back to the hotel under the city lights, Daniel noticed Maya shivering slightly. Without a word, he slipped off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. She hesitated, ready to protest, but the look in his eyes stopped her. It wasn't about charm. It wasn't about ego. It was simply care. And for the first time since they had met, Maya didn't feel annoyed. She felt seen. Still, as they parted ways at their hotel doors, Maya caught herself smiling and quickly erased it. She couldn't let herself fall into this. Not after the heartbreak she had lived through before. Not after promising herself she'd never let her heart interfere with her career again. But something had shifted. Something she couldn't deny. Maya tried to convince herself it was nothing, just a moment, just kindness. But Daniel wasn't about to let the walls she built keep him away. Because soon his feelings would grow stronger, and he'd be ready to fight for her heart. Even if Maya wasn't ready to give it, Maya knew something inside her was shifting. What had started as irritation, even dislike, was slowly softening into something she didn't want to name. After the business trip, everything between her and Daniel felt different. They still argued, they still pushed each other's buttons in meetings. But now, the tension wasn't just about work. It was something unspoken, a current running beneath every word, every glance, every pause in their conversations. Maya tried to ignore it. She buried herself in reports, presentations, and endless deadlines, convincing herself that if she stayed busy enough, the feelings would fade. But the truth was, every late-night call with Daniel, every inside joke they shared, every small kindness he showed her team, it all chipped away at her resolve. Still, Maya carried a weight Daniel didn't know about. A memory that haunted her. Years earlier, she had been in a relationship with someone she thought she could trust. Someone who had promised her forever, but instead betrayed her when she was most vulnerable. The heartbreak had nearly destroyed her. From that day on, Maya swore to protect herself at all costs. Work became her shield, success her escape. And love? Love was a door she had locked and thrown away the key. That's why Daniel scared her. Because every time he smiled at her, every time he believed in her when she doubted herself, every time he made her laugh when she wanted to stay guarded, that door started to creak open again. Daniel, on the other hand, felt no need to hide. The more time he spent with Maya, the more certain he became of his feelings. He didn't just admire her brilliance in the office. He admired her strength, her resilience, her heart. One evening, after a particularly long day, Daniel found Maya alone in the office, working late as usual. He leaned against the doorway, watching her focus so intensely she didn't even notice him at first. "You know," he said softly, breaking the silence, "if you keep working like this, you're going to forget what fresh air feels like." She looked up, startled, then rolled her eyes. "Some of us don't have the luxury of slacking off, Daniel." He walked closer, his tone gentler now. "You think that's what I do? Slack off? Maya, I push just as hard as you do. The only difference is, I don't run from what scares me." She frowned, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" He held her gaze, his voice steady. "You're scared to let anyone in. And I get it, but I'm not here to play games with you. I respect you, not just as my partner on this project, but as a person. And if you just let me, I'd like the chance to show you what it means when someone's actually on your side." Maya's chest tightened. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. His words hit too close to the truth she kept hidden. She wanted to push him away, to tell him he was wrong. But deep down, she knew he wasn't. Still, fear won. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice cracking just slightly, "office romances don't end well. I've seen it. I've lived it. And I won't risk everything I've built just to end up broken again." Daniel didn't back down. His eyes softened, his tone unwavering. "Then let me fight for you. Let me prove I'm not like the man who hurt you. I'm not going anywhere, Maya. Not unless you tell me to." For the first time, Maya saw not arrogance, not confidence, but something raw and vulnerable in him. And it terrified her even more. Because the truth was, she was starting to want what he was offering. But admitting that meant risking her heart again. And that was a battle she wasn't sure she was ready to fight. Maya's walls were crumbling, but fear still held her back. She wanted to believe Daniel, but could she? Soon, a crisis would test everything, not just their partnership, but the fragile trust growing between them. And in that moment, Maya would learn who Daniel really was. The tension between Maya and Daniel had reached a breaking point. They had spent weeks preparing for the biggest moment of their project, the final investor presentation. Everything hinged on this day. Their companies had poured time, money, and trust into their partnership. One mistake, and all their efforts would crumble. Maya arrived at the venue early, her nerves already on edge. She rehearsed her slides, checked the sound system, triple-checked her notes. For her, failure wasn't an option. Too many eyes were on her. Too many people were waiting to see if she could deliver. Daniel arrived a little later, calm as always, flashing that infuriatingly confident smile. "Relax, Maya," he teased gently. "You've got this. We've got this." She shot him a look. "Easy for you to say. Some of us actually worry about the details." He smirked, but there was warmth in his voice. "And that's why we make a good team. You keep us grounded, I push us forward. It works." For a moment, Maya almost smiled. Almost. But then, a disaster struck. Just minutes before they were set to present, the projector crashed. Their carefully designed slides, the entire visual backbone of their pitch, wouldn't load. Panic rippled through the room. Colleagues scrambled, the technical team fumbled with cables, and Maya's heart sank into her stomach. All she could think was, this is it. This is how we lose everything. Her hands trembled as she tried to fix the files on her laptop. She muttered under her breath, "No, no, no, this can't be happening." For Maya, this wasn't just a setback. It was her worst fear coming true, that all her hard work, all her sacrifices, would fall apart in front of everyone. And then Daniel stepped forward. Without hesitation, he walked to the front of the room, calm and composed. He looked out at the investors and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, while we work out a quick technical issue, allow me to tell you a story." And just like that, he began speaking. No slides, no notes, just his voice, his conviction, and his ability to connect. He painted the vision of their project in simple, powerful words. He explained not just the numbers, but the heart behind it, the impact it would have, the people it would reach, the change it would create. He drew them in with every sentence, making them see the future as clearly as if the slides were right there on the screen. And then, he did something Maya never expected. He turned to her. "You know," he said, gesturing toward her, "none of this would even be possible without Maya Carter. She's the reason this project has come as far as it has. Her dedication, her brilliance, her leadership, she's the one who brought this vision to life." Maya froze. She wasn't used to being seen like that, especially not in front of a room full of powerful people. Her throat tightened as she looked at him, stunned. He wasn't just saving the day. He was giving her the credit she deserved. By the time the slides finally came back online, it didn't even matter. The investors were already impressed, not just with the project, but with the partnership they had witnessed. Maya and Daniel delivered the rest of the presentation flawlessly, side by side, their voices flowing together as if they had rehearsed it that way all along. When it was over, the room erupted in applause. Their project was approved. They had done it. Later, as the room cleared out, Maya turned to Daniel. Her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. "You didn't have to do that," she said. He looked at her, serious now. "Yes, I did. Maya, you deserve to be recognized. And I wanted them to see what I see every day." Her chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something she hadn't felt in a long, long time, trust. For the first time, she allowed herself to wonder, maybe Daniel really is different. Maybe he means what he says. Maybe I don't have to carry all this alone anymore. Maya's walls had begun to crumble, her heart finally softening to the man she once swore she couldn't stand. But would she take the final leap of faith? Because soon, Daniel would confess his feelings once and for all, and Maya would have to decide if she was ready to open her heart again. The project was a success. The late nights, the clashes, the compromises, all of it had paid off. Their companies celebrated the launch with a big event, filled with speeches, laughter, and champagne. Maya stood near the back of the room, smiling politely as colleagues congratulated her. On the surface, she looked composed. But inside, her heart was in turmoil. Because the truth she had been avoiding was now impossible to ignore. She had fallen for Daniel. She thought back to their first meeting, the coffee spill, the harsh words, the embarrassment. How far they had come since that moment. He wasn't the arrogant stranger she thought he was. He was kind. He was steady. He was someone who believed in her even when she doubted herself. But the fear was still there. What if this ended badly? What if opening her heart meant repeating the same pain she had endured before? As the event wound down, Maya slipped outside for some air. The cool night breeze brushed her face, calming her nerves. She thought she was alone, until she heard footsteps behind her. It was Daniel. He walked up quietly, his hands in his pockets, his expression more serious than usual. For once, there was no teasing, no smirk. Just honesty. "You disappeared," he said softly. She gave a small smile. "Just needed a moment. Crowds aren't really my thing." He nodded, then took a deep breath. "Maya, there's something I need to say, and I'm not going to wait any longer to say it." Her heart pounded. She tried to steady herself, but his eyes held hers with a sincerity she couldn't look away from. "I know you've been hurt before," he began. "I know you've built walls around your heart to protect yourself. And I get it. But Maya, I'm not here to break you. I'm here because I see you. The real you. The brilliant, stubborn, passionate woman who fights for everything she believes in. And somewhere along the way, I stopped just admiring you, and I started falling for you." Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to respond, but no words came. Daniel stepped closer, his voice steady but vulnerable. "I'm not asking you to throw away everything you've built. I'm not asking you to risk everything at once. I'm just asking, give us a chance. Let me prove to you that love doesn't always end in heartbreak. Sometimes, it can be the very thing that makes us stronger." Tears welled in Maya's eyes. For so long, she had told herself love was dangerous, that opening her heart would only lead to pain. But standing there, looking at Daniel, remembering the way he defended her, the way he respected her, the way he fought for her without ever trying to control her, she realized something. This wasn't the past. This was different. Daniel was different. She took a shaky breath and finally spoke. "Do you have any idea how terrifying you are?" she whispered. He blinked, caught off guard. "Terrifying?" "Yes," she said, her voice trembling. "Because for the first time in a long time, I actually want to believe again. And that scares me more than anything." Daniel reached out, gently taking her hand. "Then let me be the one who takes away that fear." And in that moment, Maya let the walls fall. She squeezed his hand back, her tears turning into a smile. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's see where this goes." Daniel's face lit up with relief and joy. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close under the night sky. And for the first time, Maya didn't feel guarded. She didn't feel alone. She felt free. From then on, their story wasn't about arguments or clashes. It was about growth, about learning to trust, about two people who started in the worst way possible and ended up finding something neither of them expected: real love. Weeks later, as they walked out of their office building together, Maya laughed at a memory. "Can you believe all this started with me spilling coffee on you?" Daniel grinned, slipping his arm around her shoulders. "Best disaster of my life." And as they walked into the evening, side by side, they both knew, sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. True love doesn't always arrive in perfect moments. Sometimes it begins in the most awkward, messy, and unexpected ways. But when two people choose to look past pride, fear, and past pain, they discover that real love is built on trust, respect, and vulnerability. The heart heals not when it hides, but when it dares to open again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video to spread the love. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever found love in an unexpected place? And if you enjoy heartwarming romantic stories, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next story. And remember, we're not just telling stories. We're changing lives.